he's our fourth. Step fourth. On council the other night, he loved what Shirley and Ruth and I are doing, but he wants to call us the Fab Four. I guess we just asked her to join so we can have the Fab Four. Now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Nick Vandergraat from CFRA.
That's not me. Don't anybody make that mistake. I don't know if there's any point going over the long list of egregious sins that have already been articulated here by the guest speakers who come before me. They're far more eloquent and they're more well-spoken than I am. But I think what needs to be done, by the way, I have a public health safety warning for you. Yes, it has just come to my attention that the Center for Disease Control has issued a warning about a new virulent strain of the soul disease. The disease is called gonorrhea lectin. It's a terrible disease. The disease is contracted through dangerous and high-risk behavior involving putting your cranium up your rectum. Many victims contracted this dread disease in 2008 when they re-elected Dalton McGuinty's Liberals in Ontario and are starting to realize how destructive the sickness really is. It's sad because gonorrhea lectin is easily cured with a new drug just coming on the market called Vote 'em Out. We took the first dose in 2012 and don't engage in such silly behavior again. Otherwise, it could become permanent and eventually wipe out life as we know it in Ontario. So I have public service announcement. And I want to congratulate him. He's here amongst us tonight. He's with the Liberal campaign. He's with the Liberals, and I want to say hello, good afternoon. Glad you could be with us. And the nice thing about this, in this country, there's nothing wrong with that. He can stand there all day unmolested and take back whoever he answers to, everything that we say, and that is what's great about Canada. And we give him the best spot, his best seat in the House. We don't want to miss a thing. We want to make sure every word gets back. Especially the word bye-bye. Now, before I go any further, I want to take a few moments to thank the veterans. I know that Bert is here. I got a good memory, just painfully short. And I'm sure there's others amongst you. And I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you've ever done for this country. No matter when you serve, peacetime or in war, when you put your uniform on and you signed the line, you said, if necessary, I will lay down my life for my friends, my family, and my country. And there is no higher service to the country than what our men and women do in the Canadian military every day and have done since the Battle of the Plains of Abraham, if you're one of the best at that. And I do. Now, speaking of that, I want to tell you a little story. First, let me do a little snap poll here. How many Georges do we have here in Brown? No, not George from Iron Prior. As much as I love George from Iron Prior, he is the only citizen of Brown Prior because he's the only guy that ever calls him. Do we have anybody here by name of George? Well, let me tell you about a George that I know a little bit about. George, his name actually is George Richardson, and he's a private at the time this story takes place in the British Army in Kanpur, India. He's fighting the Sepoy rebels. Now, the Sepoy rebels are about on par, if not worse, than the Taliban. These people are butchers, they're bloodthirsty, and they're not going to win your Best Neighbor Award of the year. So George is on the battlefield this day, and while he's fighting, he suffers a broken leg and a broken arm. Now, if that happens to me, I'm done. I'm on my back, I got my little white flag up, I'm screaming medic and mommy, and take me away, please, because I'm not exactly the greatest guy when it comes to pain. George sees that his officer, a man by the name of Lieutenant Laurie, is in terrific trouble. He's surrounded by 6 of these barbarians. Now, I told her what I'd be doing. George says, no, this ain't happening. He stumbles over to his officer and kills 5 of them in hand-to-hand combat with a broken arm and a broken leg, and scares the other one so badly he runs away. George gets the Victoria Cross for that event. He turns down a battlefield commission. He's nominated for 3 more Victoria Crosses before the rebellion is over. Now, just to let you in on what it takes to win a Victoria Cross, it's the world's highest honor for bravery. His chances of surviving it, a BC winning event are 1 in 10. He would have won 4 of them. He retired. He goes when the war's over. He goes back to Canada. And in 1914, when World War I breaks out, he goes to the recruiting center. They send him home. He is furious. Why? Because he's 83 years old. He forgot more about fighting than the recruiting sergeant ever knew. Now, you see, that's what we need. He eventually died in 1929 of pneumonia quietly in his home in London, Ontario. But what we need are real men in this province. And I don't mean gender-wise. I'm talking about people who have intestinal fortitude, like George, who don't care about the obstacles, who are not going to stand by and say, this is too hard. We can't do this. That is not our legacy, folks. Did they say that on April 17th on Easter Sunday morning when he stormed Vimy Ridge? No. Did they say that when George was stumbling across with 2 broken limbs to save the life of an officer? No. Did they say that when they built the Canadian Pacific Railway? No. Did they say that? And we could survive when Dalton McGuinty took office? Some did. But our legacy is one of courage. Our legacy is one that we all can harken back to and say, that's the stuff we come from. So now let me ask you the question again. How many Georges do we have out here? Wow, that number went up. But it's that kind of attitude, it's that kind of thing that's going to take us, because what's wrong in Ontario, and I haven't even started talking about crown land grant, I'm not going to get into that right now, but if you own land and you don't have your patent, get it. It's the best defense against guys like Dalton and those who want to regulate every aspect of your life. But what's the root of the problem here isn't so much the eco-tax. Yes, that's a huge problem. It isn't so much the green shaft. Yes, that's a huge problem. It isn't so much all these environmental regulations, all these things that are heaped upon us one after another. And what we end up doing, because we care, is run around trying to put all these thought fires. The problem we have is a clash of ideologies. The whole system of government is wrong. The way that they're running the province is wrong. Defeat the eco-tax, and we will. He's going to come out with something next time that's almost the same. He'll put a new little bow on it. Remember the sex education we fought a little while ago? Do you think he's finished with that? No! Are we going to let him do it again? No! So what's the best way to make sure it doesn't happen again? You got it. Roll them out. It's not about one policy or another. It's the way they look at the world that's wrong. And I, for one, have had enough of people telling me what I can do on my land, how I can educate my kids, or what kind of money I should have to send to Queen's Park, or Ottawa for that matter, and watch them throw it down green holes. So let me leave you with this one little thing. We need to be men. And I don't care whether you're a man or a woman. I'm talking about intestinal fortitude. I'm talking about a spine made of titanium that will not bend. We will take a line out of Lord of the Rings when Gandalf looks at that Balrog and says, "You shall not pass." That's what we need to be like. That's the kind of people we need. So with that in mind, when you leave here today, make sure that you grab the next person you see that will even remotely call you friend by the scruff of the neck, and you drag them here next time, and you infuse them with a little bit of titanium that goes to the base of their skull, to the top of their butt, and make sure that they're here, so that when they come here next time, there's no excuse for these guys not hearing it. And I know this fine gentleman is going to make sure he hears every word. Thank you all very much.